Hello, everyone, and welcome. We'll present questions to help you prepare for your professional review interview. I am supremely confident that if you can answer all these questions, then you'll be in a very, very good position for your professional interview. I do strongly recommend that you watch this video from beginning right through to the end, and please do make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Do not fail to contact us if you require help with preparing you for any engineering interview. Understanding and practical application of engineering. Interview questions include: what major projects have you worked on? Mention 2 new technologies that you have learned over the last couple of years and explain how they have helped you complete your project. What is the most complex practical engineering challenge you have solved? What made it challenging? What new engineering skills have you recently acquired? How have you applied them to different projects? What system did you develop? List the components of the system and how the components are interconnected. Describe the operation of the overall system and the operation of component systems. What technology or technologies did you select? As an example, radar level measurement using the pulse radar technique. Did you evaluate technical papers, laboratory data, research material, factory acceptance test results to get the required knowledge to help you design solutions to complex problems? What fundamental theories or principle govern the system? Explain the principle. What are the advantages of the technology selected compared to the others? So as an example, if you're using the radar level measurement, it can be used with liquids, slurries, and some solids. So a key advantage of the radar technique is that no compensation is necessary when there are changes in density, for instance. And in addition, radar devices have no moving parts, and so maintenance is minimal. What are the disadvantages of the technology you selected compared to the others? So examples would be with the radar, if there are any obstructions in the tank, such as pipes, um, it can actually cause echoes. And also if the surface is turbulent, it can cause a loss of signal. Did you consider sustainability when selecting a solution? What computational and analytical techniques did you select in order to solve the complex problems? What analysis, calculations, or modeling did you carry out? Who defined the test criteria for the system? Did you participate during system testing? What were the test results? What was the worst that could happen during system operation? How did you incorporate safety in the design? What are the safety features of your system? What are the innovative features of your project? Provide an example of where you improved the performance of an existing system? What engineering judgments did you make, and how did it affect the project? What exactly did you do? What decisions did you make? Why did you choose option A and reject other options? Who else was involved in the decision making? Did you execute the project yourself, or was it contracted out to other firms? Who technically reviews or approves your work? What was the outcome? Now, in answering your questions, do not forget to evaluate your project success using quality, schedule, budget, and safety as yardsticks. Were you involved in the whole project life cycle? What standards and codes did you apply? Did you follow current best practices? Provide examples. What are or what were the most challenging aspects of your role? Expand on the technical aspects of the projects you have implemented. Describe the most challenging technical report that you've had to produce, or a challenging presentation that you have delivered. Management and leadership. Give examples of continuous improvement activities you are involved with. Provide examples of how you ensure that products are delivered as per agreed quality. So, did you seek feedback on suitability of your product? Did you introduce quality management during project implementation? Is your company ISO 9001 accredited? What exactly does it mean? And what responsibilities are associated with this? So if you say yes, that your company is ISO 9001 accredited, the standard is basically an international standard that specifies requirements for a quality management system, QMS. So organizations use these standards to demonstrate the ability to consistently provide products and services that meet customer and regulatory requirements. Now, there are 5 requirements to achieve ISO 9001 certification. So that includes comprehensive quality management system, management responsibility, resource management, product realization, measurement, analysis, and improvement. How do you ensure a project is delivered on time and within budget? What would you do if you are behind project schedule? So say what you know about project risk. So basically, when talking about project risk, you talk about cost risk, schedule risk, and performance risk. So the cost risk is basically when you're referring to the potential for costs to escalate. You talk about a schedule risk when there is a danger that the agreed completion date it can actually be missed. And then you talk about performance risk as well when there is a danger that a danger that the completed project will not function or perform as per agreed specification. Can you tell the difference between leadership and management? So whilst management is about controlling and directing the resource and the people for whom you are responsible, leadership is about inspiring and motivating your team in order to to achieve the set objectives. Okay. Provide an example of where you handled underperformance in your team. So it is important that you speak to the individual in question in order to establish why exactly they were not performing to the required standard. Okay. And it's important that you listen and do not jump to conclusions. It is possible that the individuals in question are experiencing problems at home. So it's important that you get to the root of the problem. Okay. If additional training is required, then it's your responsibility to ensure that they get onto the required training. How would you delegate responsibility during a very important project that has tight schedules? Where do you sit in your company's organizational structure? Tell us how you plan complex tasks. What is the difference between quality and quality assurance? What international standards govern both of them? What have you done with regards to quality assurance and quality assurance plans? Are you involved with quality management processes? Do you support audits? Have you been audited? How did it go? In your opinion, what are the most important skills needed to be a competent project engineer? What are the most important skills and qualities needed to be a project manager? What are the 5 stages of the project life cycle? Describe the most challenging project you have worked on and why was it challenging? Describe a time when you solved a complex project-related problem. What idea did you utilize and how did you make it effective? What would you do if you were behind project schedule? Can you tell me about a time when your leadership skills resulted in a positive outcome? Can you give us an example of a tough decision you have had to make? What methods will you use to motivate your team? How do you delegate your tasks? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Commercial ability. How is your project funded? How do you negotiate for resource or additional funding? What are the financial risks of a project? How did you manage the financial risks in your project? What forms of contract do you work with? What other forms of contract are you aware of? Which contract training courses have you recently attended? What happens when there is a scope creep that impacts budget? What is the size of the project you are working on in monetary terms? How much value have you added to the company by completing your project? How much money will your engineering input save your company? How did you communicate financial risks to stakeholders of your project? What was your interface with the supply chain department while working on your project? Do you understand the procurement process within your company? What is NEC? So, new engineering contract is a family of contracts that help apply good project management principles and practices and define legal relationships. NEC's vision is to become the global leader in promoting best practice procurement of works, services, and supply. What do you do if you are behind schedule and budget? Health, safety, and welfare. Have you produced risk assessments? What was the outcome? Provide examples of where you have influenced others to change their attitude to health and safety. Give an example of how you handled potentially hazardous situations at work. How did you reduce the exposure to hazards and what have you changed? How did you incorporate safety into system design and during project delivery? Do you have a good understanding of legislations related to safety systems at work? Can you name some of the legislations and describe what exactly they say? How often do you attend health and safety training? What was the last health and safety training course you attended? What do you know about CDM regulations? Provide examples of how you have promoted safe practices at work. What is risk? What are residual risks? What is dynamic risk assessment? So, a dynamic risk assessment is the process of continually observing and analyzing risks and hazards in a changing or high-risk environment. This allows workers to quickly identify new risks and remove them. Sustainable development. What do you understand by sustainability? So, sustainability is defined as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. So, it has got three main pillars, which are economic or financial, environmental, and social, human. Do you take part in activities that promote sustainable development? Give examples. Describe the origin, the purpose, and the scope of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, so the UN SDGs. Identify which goals are most closely related to your profession and your role. Give examples of your contributions to carbon reductions as well as other initiatives that have led to reduced resource demand. Explain how your organization's policies contribute to the UN SDGs. Are you aware of the Engineering Council's latest guidance on sustainability? Interpersonal skills and communication. How did you handle conflict within your team? Is your communication effective? How do you know your communication is effective? How do you adapt your behaviors when meeting and talking with people? So, are you aware of your body language, the tone of your voice, the expressions you make? It's important that you never speak over or interrupt colleagues during meetings. Do you show respect to your colleagues? How do you handle disputes with clients? Describe your communication style during the management of a project. Tell me about a time when you managed a difficult contractor or stakeholder. Have you formed good working relationships? What activities in your role will allow you to show that you communicate and interact effectively? What is the relevant legislation and your employer's policy with respect to diversity and inclusion? Do you understand the feelings and the needs of your colleagues? Professional commitment. This is an important one. Very, very important. How do you keep abreast of the latest trends in your industry? Provide examples of where you did not yield to pressure or accept substandard work. Do you know who is the most recent, past, and current president of your professional body? And what are their themes? Do you attend events related to your professional body? Which ones have you attended recently? What communities under your professional body do you belong to? Are you a volunteer for your professional body? So provide examples. Are you a STEM ambassador, for instance? Do you have a development action plan? Have you maintained your continuing personal development records? What key short-term and long-term development plans do you have in place? If you notice a design flaw in a completed engineering project, what would you do? What is the major lesson you have learned on your job? What steps are you taking to broaden your scope of expertise? Are you researching other sectors, for instance? Do you know the rules and regulations, code of conduct, and professional bodies policy around ethics? Have you read and do you understand your professional body's code of conduct? Do you comply with it? So why do you want to become a member of this professional body? Do you know the history of this professional body? Do you know how this professional body is governed? What is the Royal Charter? What is the purpose and the role of this professional body for society? How would you handle any conflicts or ambiguities in the codes of conduct of the engineering council or your professional body and that of the company you work for? So, which code of conduct would you comply with as a matter of priority and why? After becoming a chartered engineer, how do you plan to continue with your personal development? Provide examples of where you have applied ethical principles at work. Can you describe a time when you led by example? Can you provide an example of where you've done the right thing under pressure? What would you do if you were asked to do something you didn't feel you were competent to do? Has this ever happened to you before? And what exactly did you do? So thank you very much for watching. Do not hesitate to contact us if you require support. And finally, do not forget to subscribe to this channel. I would appreciate it if you liked the video. This always motivates us to create more videos. So thank you very much. Have an amazing day, and I wish you the very best in your pursuit of becoming a chartered engineer and also in your professional life. Thank you.